Yeah.
Tannis, you have like a gamer chair.
Yeah.
You have a total gamer chair.
Serious.
Yeah,
Dude, they
right
don't
on.
know. That's a Herman Miller, isn't it?
It's not actually.
No, it looks like a Herman Miller chair.
Does it? That's good. That's good. I'll look the part anyway. I get pretty intense during meetings, so I feel like I need a chair that feels
That has
intense.
the back.
Yeah.
Right on.
I have chair races from time to time in the office. That's what it's really for.
Is your mic working?
I hope so.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there we are.
I just
Hey,
didn't hear
Nichole.
you before.
Do you have power?
I don't have power.
Oh no.
Jeez.
Wow.
Oh.
So you might just all of a sudden disappear.
I'm hoping not. I got a charge. I was driving around Salt Lake City today with my iPad plugged into the car.
Wow.
And we've also learned to just mark everything as explicit. So if you feel like
Yeah.
this is a construction podcast, you need to swear. Let it fly.
Yeah.
It's not affecting
I've
our
told us
ratings.
not to.
Well, okay,
It's
so we did
better
that
if you
before, and
don't.
then if y'all listened to Lauren Williams last time,
Yeah.
in the, I was like,
Concrete.
shit, we can't get out of that one.
It's like,
Yeah, so really that's it. Hour-ish, but if the conversation's rolling, it's rolling. We really appreciate you guys. This,
Yes, thank you
I don't know
very
if you
much.
read
Yes,
the
thank you
post,
so much.
but this wasn't like hey, here's a token women in construction. This was like we have a really cool platform that we all appreciate all of you guys. So we were like, cool, let's do something no one else can do and just like turn it over and have fun. So geek out on whatever, talk amongst yourselves.
Stay to Rebecca's talking points, though.
But stay to Rebecca. I can't
from the
From the outline.
You
You're
should
off
all
script.
go. You should all go rogue.
I have to say, I am totally spoiled. I wish I had all the cool like drawing apps that our kids now have, because like Procreate is crazy awesome. If
Oh,
you
yeah.
have an iPad, that's
I've
so
been
fun to
going
draw
nuts
on.
on Procreate too. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it is very.
Does it
very
do
cool.
stick figures? Because that's about the length of my ability.
Yeah. Well, it'll make
that's
your
why I got
stick,
into construction technology, because I can't draw on my own.
right. But it'll make your stick figures really cool.
Yeah, sorry.
You can like apply effects to.
Yeah, sorry.
Right.
Oh yeah, you can animate them. Yeah, I got in so I could call myself like a modeler, so I could say I professionally model.
Right.
And no one ever buys that.
But why? But why male models?
That Marsh, he's hot right now.
It's so hot right now.
Yes, it's so hot now.
In this episode, we hand over the podcast to the Construction Dorkettes. They showed us all why they are powerhouses of construction technology. Tune in as they discuss mentorship, advocacy, technology adoption, COVID, and the future of construction as a critical trade. All right, and we are live. All right, everybody. Well, thank you. As you all roll in here, I'm going to welcome everybody and, get this thing started as soon as we can. So thanks for joining us for the Construction Dorkcast, episode 9, the Dorkettes. Without further ado, the dorks going to introduce themselves and then turn this over to some of our favorite people in the industry. Travis, why don't you go first?
All right. So, yep. You know me, I'm Travis. This week, I went into my local liquor store, and I like to sample new things, and this just spoke to me. If I can get it to show up and carry Merca. I asked the guy there, and he said it's decent, and he's right. It turned out to be decent, so I made it into a highball. It's a pretty good whiskey, and it was only about $34, which is not bad. And I'm done. Enjoy.
Jonathan?
Well, I will go next. I'm Jonathan Marsh, and you guys all know me. And we had a whiskey tasting with Kevin Suhu from Dato, and so he got me back into Japanese whiskeys. So I'm doing a Suntory Hibiki Harmony, which is really, really awesome Japanese whiskey. And my wife watched me take it out of the cabinet. And it was like, you're only having a little bit, right? Just a little bit, because it's easily her favorite whiskey. but it's really good, and the Japanese always are. All right, I will see you guys after the show.
All right. Thanks, Jonathan. That was a great tasting this week.
It
Thanks
was.
to Kevin Suhu at Dado. That was a lot of fun after MEP Force. Trent.
Yeah. Hey, Trent here. So I'm gonna be another Jeff this week. I've actually got a pretty heavy workload tonight, so I'm going with the Bundaberg root beer here. If we can, it's an Australian-made root beer. Gonna do the non-alcoholic one tonight. So got a long night ahead of me, but I'm gonna duck out and let these ladies do their thing.
Awesome. Well, not to be left out today, I actually have a Moscow Mule, but it's a fake mule. You can't really see it. Oh, I picked a bad can here, but it's a Moscow Mule, unsweetened, and my usual, post-ride drink. But that's it. I'm going to duck out, and you are all in for an extreme treat for the day. I'm excited to sit back and listen to these incredible minds. So you all take it away. Remember to ask your questions. It's live. We're in the background. We'll make sure everything goes well, and we'll see you after the show. Christa, take it away.
Me? Okay, I'll go first. So we thought that we would just start out by introducing ourselves, talk a little bit about how we got into the industry. So for me, my name's Christa Stephens. I work for Construct Edge. We are a technology services company. I am kind of the marketing guru specialist, business development-y person over here. So I've been in the industry for about 10 years, I think. Started as a project coordinator on a large scale entertainment project, and then moved into power transmission and worked as kind of an assistant project manager on that role. So I've seen kind of the back end project management side of construction, and then moved over to CCR, which then spun out the Construct Edge brand earlier this year. And I've been deep in the construction technology space ever since. So that's been about 4 years for me now. And running the gamut with these dorks and hanging out with them at trade shows has been kind of the highlight of my last 4 years. So I'm really excited to be here.
What are you drinking?
Oh yes, we can't forget that. So I have to go pick up my daughter from dance later. So I went with the coffee, and true in my basic white girl nature, it is a pumpkin spice from Starbucks because it's fall. Kelly, you go.
All right. Well, my name's Kelli Lubeley. I work for Cupertino Electric as the BIM program manager. And my current role has me taking what everybody else sort of dreams up as making possible and taking that and turning it into a reality. And hopefully interjecting a few of my bright ideas along the way when I have them. I got started originally about 12 years ago now as a modeler and drafter back at an architecture firm after taking a CAD class at a local community college. And I just happened to learn Revit a little ahead of the curve and moved into BIM management from that, and have since made my way around the different types of design firms, and also worked with both general contractors, and now I'm in the subcontracting side working on electrical and specializing in data centers. And I am drinking a single malt scotch from the Highland area of Ireland.
All right, I'll go next. My name is Tannis Liviniuk. I'm the CEO of Trillium Advisory Group. I got my start in the industry fairly young. Started out actually working in the yard in our family business. So as a teenager, when my friends were out having fun, I was helping mob and demob cranes. So I found my love for construction at a young age. I got into material management, did some work on site as a rigger and a mechanics helper. And worked through a couple trades, not quite sure what I wanted to do. I was pursuing an undergraduate degree at the same time, so I was spending my holiday breaks and my summers working out on site. Very quickly realized that construction is where I wanted to be. And I moved into a planning role back in 2007, and so quite a while ago. Fell in love with making order out of chaos, and that's really where I found my passion for the industry. So I worked through a few different planning roles, moved into planning coordination, planning management, did a couple roles in project leadership and a corporate team. and moved and worked with a construction technology group in a technology company, and spent a few years there traveling around the world working with teams deploying new technology, deploying new processes, and really working with teams to help them understand why tech, why now, what's in it for them. And that was great. And from there I became an entrepreneur, and now I work with teams all over the world doing something actually very similar. In a construction services organization, we work with technology and data, and really helping teams, combine the two and work more effectively and build better projects. That's how I got my start in the industry. My drink of choice is coffee. I'm out on the West Coast. It's only 3 o'clock here, so not quite 5 yet. I'm holding off on the gin and tonic until then.
Okay, I'll go. My name's Rebecca Sharp. I'm an operations technology manager with Balfour Beatty. Had a little bit of a different start. I actually got my master's degree in architecture. So started out in the AEC industry as a whole, working for an architecture firm, designing single family vacation homes in the Caribbean, and moved down to the Caribbean, moved to Utila, Honduras, to oversee the build of those homes and kind of start to make my way to the construction side of the industry, and came back and started working with a general contractor here in Denver, doing like 1 million square foot high-rise construction. So I've done a little bit of everything from single family residential to high-rise construction. And then about 2 years ago, transitioned over to a construction technology role, primarily focused on Procore, but kind of all things construction technology, with testing, configuring, implementing, training, kind of rolling out construction technology on a national scale for what I used to be with Holland Construction and now Balfour Beatty. And I am staying on the whiskey train with the rest of you guys. I have a Breckenridge bourbon, Neat, that I am sipping on today.
I have to interject. Breckenridge is one of my favorite bourbons. That's a great one. So.
Oh, the owner lives next door to me. So.
Well, thank them. Thank them very much for me.
Cool. So I'll go next. My name is Neetha. I work for Autodesk Construction Solutions. I'm a technical solutions executive here. So that basically just a fancy term for meaning that I work with customers on their workflows, kind of finding efficiencies within those workflows. And just like Rebecca, I actually got my start out in architecture as well. I thought I'd become an architect when I was 10 years old, but ended up doing master planning and construction administration straight out of college, where I really worked with a lot of construction people and realized that like the planning aspect is what I really liked. And that's really when I went over and switched over to construction during like a really lucky time. So they were just starting out this design management role, and it wasn't really defined yet. So I got to explore a lot of different things and really do anything and everything that I wanted to do. And a lot of that was technology, and I really found a love and passion for that. So ended up over at PlanGrid, and then on to Autodesk now.
And what are you drinking?
I am also on the West Coast. I'm also just drinking coffee.
Well, I'm gonna feel like I'm an early starter because I've got 2 with me. Hi, my name's Nichole, and I'm getting crap for not wearing a Dodgers hat by one of our onlookers. So thanks, Darren. But I work for Big D Construction, and I am the implementation and adoption manager for all of our construction tech. And I got started, I guess I was kind of complaining in a job site trailer about some really archaic processes that were mandating a subcontractor to provide 6 hard copies of documentation for a project. We were on the Navajo Nation at the time, and it was darn near impossible to actually get that stuff shipped out every day and us to stay on track. just because of the approval process and making sure that the government oversight was there. And I was kind of blowing up my superintendent, and an onlooker actually ended up being the COO of the company. And he offered me a job basically on the spot after I went on a rant. So kind of landed face first into that one. But since then, I've been working for GCs, trying to make their processes more effective with the use of tech. So
I think we all had the pleasure of connecting yesterday, and through telling these stories, all realized we all got here from like totally random places and all had super different paths of how we got here. And so we really wanted to talk today about like how to become a construction technologist and things that we've learned along the way, because it isn't always a clear-cut path, and it isn't always something that's super defined, since we all kind of found our way here, you know, seemingly by accident, it seems. So I know one of those topics that we talked about yesterday was mentorship. Anybody want to chime in on that? I think Neetha, you had some mentor stories.
Yeah, so mentorship is a huge topic for me, just because I've had the pleasure of having a lot of really great people in my life, whether it was in architecture or school or construction or even at Autodesk, and they've really guided me towards like the next path in my life, and kept me from being pigeonholed really, and exploring a lot of different things when you're on the younger side really kind of helps shape exactly where you want to go and kind of solidify that. So that's something that I found really useful. And I guess also I did want to point out that when you're in a male-dominated industry, sometimes you're kind of shifted towards maybe finding those female mentors, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with finding male mentors too. There's a lot of allies out there, and yeah.
That's funny you mentioned that, Neetha, because I actually have a male mentor right now in my company, and he's probably one of the strongest advocates that I've had, both for my role and for, in general, building up technologists and the technology and sort of, you know, open thinking to progress our industry. And it's really been an eye-opener. I always thought that a lot of the jobs that I worked at were good jobs, and I really enjoyed them, and I really enjoyed the people that I worked for. But moving under someone who really recognizes each person's individual potential and wants to put effort into making sure that that person not only succeeds within the company, but also really feels a lot of strong fulfillment within their role, has been really, really an eye-opener for me to really grow personally, because I'm a very technical person, and I've always focused on my technical skills, and he actually really focuses on interpersonal skills and building the skills that you might be lacking. And so he's helped me with that considerably, and that has made a huge difference both in my career and my personal life. And you know, I think it was something that also did strike me as a bit odd that my most vocal advocate as a woman who has struggled in construction has been a man. But it's been great to have that mentorship and to have that support for somebody who recognizes how important technology is.
Yeah, like someone said yesterday, like mentorship and sponsorship, and what the difference there is. And I want to capitalize on that. As much as I've had really fantastic mentors, I think that the sponsorship of the guys that I actually interact with, like boots on ground every single day, that show up for me and say, this girl knows what she's talking about, like you gotta listen to her, and really like validates the efforts that I'm putting towards have been the most amazing relationships that I've been able to foster. And they've just proven to be so equitable throughout my career, whether I need a reference or somebody that is just gonna stand there and actually listen to my speech and say, this is what you did wrong. You know, you need to dumb it down. You know, like really be critical, but to the point of like making us all better, and having that person, you know, sell my pitch to their guys has been so phenomenal to see that kind of embracement.
That's a great point.
Go ahead, Tannis.
Okay. So I was just going to say, when it comes to mentorship, it's not just about lifting you up. It's also about pointing out where you've gone sideways and being able to really have those forward, candid conversations. It's a dynamic relationship when you find a mentor that really is keenly focused on helping you succeed in your role as a construction technologist. But also isn't afraid to give you that feedback where something didn't work or didn't quite go according to plan. You know, they provide that insight. You know, sometimes we kind of get our blinders on and we've got a goal and we're trying to achieve it, but having somebody that can see the bigger picture and look in from the outside and really give you some candid advice, that's really invaluable. It's really, you know, key in that mentorship relationship.
Yeah, I think for me, one of my biggest lessons learned is identifying those allies and those mentors, but like focusing energy there, because there are other people, you know, today we're all females, you know, we're not focusing on being women in construction today, but as part of being a woman in construction, there are parts of it that are hard, and there are parts of it where like people might cut you down or people aren't always on your side. So really focusing your energy on your allies and focusing your energy on your mentor and like how you can learn and grow, and not letting those other people kind of tear you down and not letting them kind of consume your energy. Because if you put your energy towards the people who are fighting against you, it kind of like is defeating. It takes your energy out, it, you know, kind of gets you down. So not letting them suck your energy out and like really focus on who your allies are has been a huge part of my success, I think.
I think for me, so in lieu of a formal mentorship relationship, you know, I haven't been fortunate enough to foster a relationship like that in my career yet. Still young, still gonna get out there and make that happen. But absolutely what Nichole said, like you guys just finding the people who believe in you and taking that feedback and just like internalizing it and making it so that like you can set your own goals. That's been really valuable for me. I actually remember when I very, very first started in construction, I was a project coordinator on a $100 million construction project, and one of the program managers pulled me aside and he's like, listen, you're a woman in this industry, you can go anywhere if you really want to. And like he knew it, but I mean, this was 10 years ago and he knew it. He was like, as a woman, you can carve your own path, you can do whatever you want. And so I've definitely like taken that to heart and just kind of remembered that, you know, there aren't a lot of women in this space, and it makes all of our perspectives that much more valuable.
One thing to keep in mind as well with a mentorship relationship is as a construction technologist, if you're in this space or you're looking at moving into this space, you're going to become a mentor for other project stakeholders as well. So while you're receiving that feedback and that guidance and that counsel, you're passing that along at the same time, and you're empowering more project stakeholders to engage with technology, use it effectively, improve their workflows. And you're also empowering the next generation of construction technologists that are going to move into this role as you're forging that path. So keep that in mind. Mentorship it's really circular, right? It's between two people, but that information and that knowledge is going to then transfer, and you're going to share that with many others as well. So while you're being empowered, you can also empower others.
And what you just mentioned, go ahead, Kelly.
Oh, go ahead.
What you just mentioned, Tannis, was one of the other big points that we were kind of talking about yesterday with kind of becoming a construction technologist and what that means. You have to be willing to forge your own path, right? Like, this isn't a career that has existed for very long. This is a new space that we're all working in. And so like how we all got here is so different because there isn't a defined path on how to get here. And that was just like kind of one of our commonalities that I think we kind of came to yesterday.
Yeah, no, I think the mentorship ties in really well to the general, you know, construction technology lifestyle, the path that we choose, because, you know, as a technologist in construction, there's always people that are going to be resistant to change, and especially resistant to, you know, whatever the new shiny thing is, whether it's beneficial or not. And that becomes a good lesson for us, because the more we can learn from a mentor, the more, you know, criticism that we can take, the more feedback that we can get and gather and learn how to adapt, the more we can also work with the teams that we're, either, getting them to understand why a new tool is beneficial for them, or whether we're trying to get them to adopt a process, whatever it is, really learning how to accept that feedback from a mentor helps us roll that over into accepting feedback and starting to understand those cues that come from other people, maybe when it's not intentionally feedback, is, why are they so resistant? Why are they not interested in this technology? And taking that and building that into a relationship with them to better understand and work with them.
I definitely think that I always ask, like, I have to understand the why, especially with the end users. Like, I think that you have to meet them where they're at. You have to be boots on ground. You have to show respect for what they have to deal with every single day. And again, it really is fostering the relationships that really help us, like, actually provide binder behind what we're trying to accomplish. And I definitely think Tannis is, I echo the sentiments that, as much time as I spend, really trying to have focus time and really get some stuff done, I am actively working with, like, some of the guys to really, like, foster their, technology usage, and you start pinpointing those people and rewarding them with more one-on-one time. I found that they are the best advocates, and they're bringing stuff to me now. Like, this is the shiny thing. And I'm like, where did you even find this? Like, I feel like I'm tapped in, and these guys are bringing me tools that I didn't know existed. So again, it is kind of circular. And I think that that's only going to increase and broaden the strength of all of us as construction technologists in general.
You're getting some shout outs on chat, Nichole.
Probably some hacks, right?
And I think that y'all are both just touching on those, but I did notice that Travis in the chat asked, how can we be good mentees? And I think, yeah, Kelly and Nichole both were just kind of chatting about that. Are there any other thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think part of it also is like finding the right person to mentor you. And I think that's like constantly kind of looking around and seeing who the movers and shakers are, who like is actually looking to improve some of these processes, and like who's open to it. And maybe also not being afraid to kind of reach out to them and be like, can I have some of your one-on-one time? Like, this would really help me out. I think what you're doing is great, and just being really confident about it.
Yeah, I always feel like one of my biggest things is like kind of remembering that you can't change other people. You can only change yourself. And so being open to that feedback, I mean, like, everybody's kind of blowing up the chat. Criticism is important, and it is important. And being open to feedback is important. And so finding that person that you have a relationship with, where you have that trust and where you can really have that open communication, to understand how you as an individual can grow, because nobody else here is changing in this scenario. If I'm here to work on something, then I'm working on it myself, and I can't expect the other people to change in the meantime. So remembering that, focusing on yourself instead of trying to change other people is, I think, important.
I think as you're navigating through this space as well, you're going to be doing things that are innovative and cutting edge, and you're going to be pushing boundaries, and that's going to draw some accolades sometimes, and it's going to draw some criticism at other times. And you really have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You need to push boundaries. You need to try new things. Sometimes they're going to work, sometimes they aren't. And that's all just part of the process. Not every technology deployment is going to be a huge win. Sometimes they don't quite go as planned, and there's lessons learned there. You take them away, you move on, and you do something better the next time. And just because something didn't work doesn't mean it was a total loss or it was a failure. There's often lots of wins in those deployments that didn't quite go as you intended them to go. And when you look at the construction technology space, it's very incremental, right? A lot of things that we do, we take small steps and we build upon them. And 2, 3, 5 years later, we've done incredible things. But it took a lot of people trying new things, asking questions, and falling down along the way to really get us to that point. So be comfortable being uncomfortable, push boundaries. Sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it's not, and that's okay. Be forward thinking and push those boundaries as much as you can.
I love that so much. And just like the overall concept of being comfortable, being uncomfortable. Those of us with type A personalities, I know Rebecca knows where I'm coming from. Like, we can still do that, right? Like, even somebody who thrives with structure, who thrives with, you know, like knowing what's coming, we just know that uncertainty is coming. And then we're like, okay, I can prepare for this. I know that I'm in a situation where I'm not going to have all the answers and where I'm going to have to pivot, and you can still prepare for that. So I know I've run into a lot of people who don't feel like they have what it takes, right, to be in this space or to be in any kind of innovative space. And I think that it's just a matter of mindset, and it's just a matter of realizing that you do have to be okay with it, but you can prepare yourself mentally to be okay with it.
Yeah,
I think also, oh, sorry,
go ahead, Neetha.
I was just going to say, I think with that uncertainty also comes a lot of opportunity, because that means that there isn't a set way of doing things. You can actually define it yourself and kind of do what's best and really start that off.
Yeah, I think uncertainty actually gives us a chance to connect with people in a way that we don't typically realize. You know, we're tend to be seen as experts, and it can be hard sometimes for people to approach us, and I think we forget that. And one of the easiest ways to connect with people in a very, very simplistic way that can go a long way to making those connections with them is to admit that we don't know all the answers. You know, and that's part of that being uncomfortable is yeah, we're expected to be the experts. We're expected to know all the answers because we love this technology and we live in this world. So obviously we know everything, but the truth is we don't. We do this because we like playing around with it, because we like to figure out the answers. But there's nothing wrong when somebody asks a question to say, you know what, I don't know the answer to that. Let me get back to you. And I remember when I went through learning that was such a hard thing for me when I was early on in my career, to learn, like, wait, it's okay to say I don't know, like I don't understand, like this feels wrong. And it can be very uncomfortable at first, but it's another really key place to get comfortable feeling that, like, let people know it's okay not to have all the answers. If I don't have all the answers, well, then you don't have to have all the answers either. And that's okay.
Yeah, can I just ask a question? How many times have you guys said, I don't know this week?
A few.
I've said it at least 20 times today.
I'll say at least,
I don't know, but I'm
I
gonna
can count
figure it
at least
out.
3 today in writing.
I think that just comes hand in hand, like working with agile technology. I mean, I'll jump in and I feel like I could, you know, do a training on submittal, you know, register creation inside of Procore in my sleep, but then I jump in and something's changed and I'm like, oh shit, like what are we gonna do? But that's where you start messing around and fiddling and find a path. And I think that acknowledgement that, you know, it is agile and we all are trying to keep up with the experts. I think that volatility actually wins at the end of the day, because you're showing what they, you know, the constraints that they see on a daily basis. Uh-oh. Someone saying that I just got an F-bomb. I didn't, I promise.
It was your fault, Nichole.
I'm just surprised I wasn't the first one, so thanks for that.
It was bound to happen, you guys. It's fine.
Well, switching gears a little bit, we had a question come in on not the chat line, the other question area from Nathan, wondering specifically to Christa and Neetha, what differences you've seen working on the AEC industry. I'm sorry, I'm gonna learn to read like sometime. It's gonna be soon. What differences have you seen working on the AEC side of the industry versus technology? Is one better or worse than the other?
Neetha, you wanna go first?
Okay, yeah. I think right off the bat, like the speed is maybe different. Like during like construction, architecture, engineering projects, like the projects are just so long, and you have time to like catch yourself if you make a mistake here or there. But then also like the stress is kind of a lot more because the impact of your decision is a lot greater. But on the technology side, it's kind of it's a little bit quicker turnaround, and the impact of your decisions may be a little bit less.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the speed thing. I think the one thing, so being on the administrative side of construction, you know, I was on 6-year projects, right? Like everything was long and slow and drawn out. And now my life is definitely not that. But also for me, I've noticed just so many more opportunities and so many doors open to me on the tech side. Just because everything is evolving so rapidly. So like all of these new roles and opportunities are just coming out of the woodwork in the construction technology space, which is really cool to see. And I know that's, you know, that holds true for probably everybody that is on this panel right now. Like opportunities are coming out of nowhere, and we just have to keep our eyes open to see what our next step is going to be.
Yeah, and I feel like that goes back to just exactly what we were just talking about, like kind of our random paths to get here, and kind of goes right along with another question that just came in from Darren. How many of you knew in high school that you would be in this industry as your future career? And like none of us, because it didn't exist. Like this wasn't a career when we were in high school. So just having that super agile mind, and I feel like a lot of it first was like identifying the passion. Like we all seem to really like efficiencies and processes and like getting the industry to be better at what we do. But that wasn't defined 10 years ago as a thing, you know? So we're all just kind of making it up as we go a little bit, which is really interesting. But the second part of his question is how do we help high school kids today recognize this industry as an option for their future, which I think is interesting because we didn't necessarily have that.
Yeah, I mean, oh my God, I'm going to date myself here, but when I was in high school, I learned how to draft by hand. And
like the blue line machine that like it smelled like vinegar or something. It was horrible.
And yeah, when I looked into going into engineering and architecture in college, I found out everything's going to computers now, and I actually had a bit of wanting to reject the industry because I really loved that hand drafting so much. And so I had thought about engineering, but I actually had a bit of a crisis and didn't really decide what I wanted to go into, and backed away and went into other industries instead of going into higher education. And I came back around to it later on after I decided I wasn't on the correct career path at the time. And I think that's one of the things that's important about this discussion is that there still isn't a career path or an education for construction technology. The closest you can get is you can get an architecture degree or an engineering degree, or you can get a construction administration degree. I've seen a lot of people do that as well. But it doesn't address sort of all of the levels or all of the different aspects of construction technology, because we're a little bit IT and a little bit design and a little bit project management and a little bit of kind of everything. And there's not a path for that yet. And so trying to develop that is a little bit interesting. I think, ladies can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think most of us realized it as we were in our career. Like we kind of knew we wanted to do something with buildings and construction, but it wasn't until we were already in it that we recognized that we had a passion for the technology and for, the different things that create efficiencies and that facilitate the work for other people to do that. And honestly, to be perfectly honest, I don't know if there's a way to help high school students recognize that now, but I think what we can do is recognize if they have an interest in that area to at least start down the path towards that area in some respect, and to try out different parts, start in a trade school, or start, with a, helping clean up on job sites, or, if you want to get a stamp, start in higher education with architecture, engineering, and start working in that direction, and you'll figure it out as you go along.
So I'll pose the question to the ladies on the call. What did you want to do in high school? What was your planned career path? I wanted to be a lawyer. I had a very different plan for where I was going to end up. And looking back on it, I'm thrilled that I did what I did. I can't imagine having been a lawyer, sorry to any lawyers out there. I mean, it's a great career, but not where I would see myself right now. So where did you guys see yourself in high school? What did you want to be?
I wanted to be a film editor.
Okay.
I actually went to cinema school.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got my BFA and my MFA in technical direction. So I was building scenery and doing automation for theatrical performances. And I actually did that for about 4 years after school. So
I never figured out what I wanted to be when I grow up, and I'm just not going to grow up. I enjoy doing this, but I still don't have a plan. I just keep going with the flow. It works out pretty well.
Yeah, I don't know if I really remember in high school, but my undergraduate degree was graphic design, and I wanted to be in advertising.
Nice.
I wanted to be like an art director. And so, yeah, the art side is what led me into architecture, I think, but I don't really remember pre-college what I wanted to do.
Neetha, what about you?
So I actually wanted to be an architect since I was 10. Like I knew like hardcore that that's where I wanted to end up.
Right
And
on.
yeah, it didn't end up happening, but I feel like there's aspects of it everywhere, like even in like just like technology architecture, solution architecture. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I guess apparently there's there's actually a construction technology degree coming to USC, which I did not realize.
By you now.
What did you say?
We just hired a couple that were from BYU Idaho and BYU Provo that they're coming out with I think it's a bachelor's in BIM maybe actually, but it is really emphasis like the kid know how to do construction site better than I do. So I was quick to learn a lot. And I will say that like the ACE mentor program, I think has been a phenomenal insight as to like the kids that are coming up because you give them a plan and they've got, 12 weeks to come up with a solution. And, we're there to kind of like oversee that people have a voice. But man, some of the product that is coming out of some of these projects at the end of this semester is on par with what I would see from undergrad architects. I promise you, like the ideas that are coming out from planning and, utilizing spaces and, going on job sites and having that immersion to see how they translate that in their plans has been really phenomenal. And I would definitely encourage anybody in the industry, whether you're in architecture, engineering, or construction tech, to actually see if you can even spend a night with them in that session, because it's pretty phenomenal to see what they're doing. Awesome. Is anybody else doing ACE Mentor at all? Bummer. Okay.
No, but one other
No,
thing,
but now we will.
Yeah. Yeah, one other thing that goes back to kind of like giving, high schoolers advice is learning different styles of communication. I feel like one of my biggest differences being in technology rather than being out in the field is just like who I deal with on a daily basis. And it isn't limited to a site team anymore. It's like C-levels down to interns and literally everyone in between. And so understanding like how to communicate with people who aren't tech savvy, people who are brand new in this industry, people who are the decision makers for enterprise level initiatives, people who are spending the money, all of those are very different conversations. And so I feel like that's one of my biggest differences from being out in the field, and advice I would give to someone new in this industry is like, learn to communicate with different types of people, because it's just like, every day is just totally different with what types of things are coming up in conversation. So
I think that's a really good point. Sales training as well. I mean, a lot of people think that sales training is just for people that are in sales, but in the grand scheme of things, in this space, we're selling ideas all the time. We're selling new concepts, new technologies. We're trying to win hearts and minds in the industry and get people to buy into new concepts, new ways of working, and champion them. And that's a process. It takes time, and it takes a unique skill set to kind of get people past that point of, this is new, I'm not really comfortable with it, to this is the best thing ever, I can't work without it. And getting informal or formal training in the sales process is really valuable in helping connect with people and to Rebecca's point, communicate effectively and really get people on board with new ideas. One thing I wanted to mention, when it comes to high school students and really getting people passionate about careers in construction, just from a personal experience, I was actually advised against going into construction. Being a woman in the space, the advice I got was male-dominated industry, go find something else to do. And that's, I come from a construction family, and that's really the only reason I got into the space and really enjoyed it. But it's part of what drove my concept around, hey, maybe I should become a lawyer, because I was told to avoid construction. I'm not sure that a lot of career counselors really have a depth of knowledge in the different career opportunities in this space. So I think there's probably an opportunity to work more closely with high schools and career counselors and providing some information around, construction's a big world and there's lots of career opportunities. You can go into the trades and pursue a career there. You can become an architect, you can become an engineer, you can go into construction technology, and here's what that looks like. I think if, we as advocates in the industry and we as champions of construction technology can reach out and work more closely with educational programs and career counselors, we can probably affect change in the space and get more people excited about careers in construction and construction tech.
Yeah, maybe one day this will be a defined path.
Yeah, exactly.
Hope so. I think there, obviously, like, we've all been to the conferences where, they bring up the McKinsey Digitization Index and like the whole thing, construction doesn't have a good reputation in a lot of spaces. And I think it's our job, to advocate for this, Travis, it's our job to advocate for this industry as people who are really passionate about it. So I know that, like, I share stuff on my personal social media page that's like, look, it's not what you think. It's not, it's not all dirt. Some of it is a lot of dirt and a lot of, like, heavy lifting and manual labor, but that's not all that this industry is. It's really, really complex and highly technical, and so cool to just watch something come to life right before your eyes. So I think that we just need to spend. Yes. I love when things start rolling around social media and it's like, you can enter the trades and make, 6 figures,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't need a higher education degree to do that. Like
I post like stuff all the time, like 6 figures, like company car, like I got it made. I get to interact with a whole slew of people every single day. I mean, I love what I do, but there is serious money behind it. And that needs to be highlighted because it's not sexy some days. I mean, let's just be real. Like, construction isn't sexy, but, we need to highlight some of that stuff because you can get, I'm making really damn good money. And I hope you guys are as well, honestly.
Well, and I think that brings up a good point, though, is, when you talk about all the different things that are involved in construction and construction technology and how people are uneducated. I mean, I think everybody gets into it for a different reason. And that's sort of goes to, why would we want to talk somebody into doing this? Why would, why do they need to be educated about this? I mean, I would liken my position closer to a teacher than to anything else. I spend more time helping people be successful in their role than doing anything else. And when people ask me what my job is, I tell them my job is to make other people successful at their job. Because I could explain a BIM manager, but that's not going to make any sense to them. I can tell them I do VDC or construction and technology, but I say, my job is to make other people's jobs easier. Because that's really what I do, whether it's finding a new piece of software to use or implementing a new process or providing training to people. My job is to make their job easier. I don't make money for the company. I don't install conduit. I don't come up with new, better ways of, distributing power between equipment. I make the job easier for everybody else that does that. And to me, that the closest position that I've come to across that, the closest career I've come to that is a teacher. And so that's something like, if you want to be an educator, but you don't like the idea of a classroom, why not be a corporate trainer? Why not teach people how to use construction technology or to work with different field tools or things like that. That to me is also where that benefit lies.
There's so many opportunities in the construction space career-wise. I mean, I talk to colleagues in the space all the time, and they're struggling to fill roles and construction trades, high-paying jobs. And in some cases, companies are paying for the training for people to come in and just get their start in the construction trades. And there's so much opportunity in this space, and I'm not sure that a lot of people know that. And getting connected with youth in junior high and high school, and really getting these opportunities in front of people and advocating for careers in construction, I think is important. We've got a lot of work going on in Canada. If you haven't picked up on the accent yet, I'm Canadian. I try not to say A every 4 words, so it doesn't always give it away. We've got a lot of work going on in Canada to really promote career opportunities in the trades, and our Prime Minister actually has set up a panel of advisors to, really put some momentum around, getting youth excited about careers in construction. There's actually a set aside in the budget for a national campaign to promote trades to youth in our country, which is fantastic. I mean, there's lots of opportunity out there, and for those, if anybody's listening out there and you're trying to figure out which direction to go in your career, construction trades, engineering, architecture, there's so much opportunity in this space for you to, come in, affect change, bring innovative new ideas, and really do something exciting with people that are passionate about building things.
Literally building the future.
Absolutely.
Slogan right there for your high school campaign.
Somebody was talking about putting t-shirts together with some of our slogans. I think we need to capture that.
Don't worry, they're being printed as you speak.
Okay, perfect.
Just make sure you put literally in italics.
Oh, literally.
Neetha, I'm curious too, from Autodesk being such a big company, do y'all have like internship programs? Do y'all reach out to high schoolers at all? Do y'all have any way to engage kind of younger community?
I think I think it's like a regional specific thing. So we will have like specific events. But it's funny that we're talking about high school, and I didn't want to say this because I don't think it's common, but we did have a trade program in my high school where they were targeting people and saying like, you don't need to go to college. You just do like this like trade specific industry thing and kind of get a high paying job right away. And it worked out for a lot of people, and the graduation rate was like through the roof. So I think that's also something to kind of look at. So that's kind of what Tannis was saying in Canada. I think maybe a couple high schools in California are also kind of looking at that right now.
That's great.
Colorado has an initiative that they'll pay you to go to like kind of catch-all trades. So like you're learning concrete, you're learning how to weld, like it's like dabbling. And I know Utah is basically stealing that idea, and that's all through the AJC, but I think tapping into that young blood is definitely beneficial. One of the main instructors at the Utah one is like 23 and just bought his first home. And I'm like, I would have loved that, to have that opportunity, but he has that much money in the bank because he's a licensed electrician at this point. And it's just like, that's crazy. At 23, I had, $68,000 in college debt, and I was living at my parents' house to pay it off basically. So the path is definitely one that can be altered to really reap the benefits of it.
One more chat came in kind of along the lines of what we're talking about from Lillian about whether there's concern about this specific industry or these specific career paths with something like COVID. And in some ways, I'm like, we're value add to the company. Like we're overhead, we're not project based. So even if the projects, go down, we still have a place. But, I do think that there can be concern about it. So yeah, curious what you guys think.
I definitely think there's a benefit in it because us working in construction technology, it kind of helps people go remote a little bit more easily. So there's less like human interaction on the job site. So.
Yeah, I know I've definitely been noticing, a lot of our clients are going, they have to social distance in the field. And so they can't have as many people like clustered together in certain workspaces. So they're using a lot of IoT devices, and they're doing like facial recognition and thermal temperature scanners when you enter. So it's just a lot of these tech things that we've been trying to kind of pick up speed, and now COVID has made them kind of a necessity. So I think that's been, kind of a silver lining for those of us in construction technology. The other thing I was actually thinking as we were talking about education and those paths, like what is the future of education look like after, like in a post coronavirus world, as we see, traditional classroom settings changing and disappearing altogether. Like maybe more people will be likely to go a trade route because formal education is kind of disintegrating before our eyes.
I think that's a fantastic thing. I mean, honestly, I don't have anything against education, but I think too many, for too long, at least in the US, we've put an emphasis on college education. And that's why we have this shortage of our trades, right? Where there's a lot of really good jobs out there that are born out of trades. It may, like us, we may not stay an electrician or an architect or, a pipe fitter, but all of the people that work in those positions around that also typically come from some experience in that too. And so, getting into those fields, just like getting into being an architect or an engineer, helps you learn about, I want to become a safety person. I want to become QA/QC. I want to get into construction technology. And I think COVID has created a really large opportunity for us because it's opened up the necessity for everything from remote working all the way to Internet of Things on the job site. And all that's going to do is just continually expand the necessity for more construction technology, whether it's the operators of the technology, whether it's the administrators of the technology, or the people who are testing and implementing it. So I think what it's really done is created an explosion of construction technology opportunities for us. And we're just going to see that continue as we go, because as it feeds into that and creates more opportunities, it's going to facilitate continuing to build upon that and furthering the tools that are available and the more discoveries they're going to make that just keep building on that and opening up that technology world.
Yeah, I mean, everything here has become mission critical. Like, we were trying to roll this out very slowly. So we, had our SOPs defined and everything kind of went out the window. And it was like, deploy it, and the irony is I haven't had a whole lot of pushback. We've had far more acceptance of some of the adoption that I ever thought we'd see, simply because we've had to mandate it. And maybe this is a good thing. I know it's a good thing for the industry. Let's hope the markets rebound though.
Yes.
Get into
in the past, you used to have to sell people on the why, right? And like, what's in it for me? And now what's in it for everybody is pretty obvious, right? Most of us are working remotely now, and life has changed. Project life has changed. And when you can't have people on site and social distancing is required, you have a lot more people working from home. The connectedness of the team is all of a sudden paramount. So to your point, Nichole, the deployments that were kind of being slow rolled and let's get the SOPs defined. Let's do lots of training. Let's kind of gradually get people into the use of this new tech. It's like, all right, just push it out. We need it because we can't function without it. So the why is it's right in front of you. It's pretty difficult to dispute why some of these tools are needed. And now you're playing catch up with all the other things that are required to make sure that the sustainment of that technology is smooth. So it certainly makes getting people on board and turning people into campaigners for new technology a little bit easier when they just need it to do their job.
Yeah, and I feel like things like progress documentation and stuff are becoming closer to the norm, where it's like people who can't travel, people who can't readily get on a plane can still kind of see the progress of the site and, not have to have so much in-person oversight. And then the more we're relying on it now, the more that will just become commonplace in the future. And it doesn't have to have that battle of like, do we want to spend this money or not? It's just kind of part of how we do business. So will be interesting to see.
I'd be curious to see in technology surveys, I'm sure we'll see it in the next 12 to 16 months, but how COVID has impacted technology budgeting in construction.
Mm-hmm.
Are teams kind of redefining what construction technology looks like as a result of this?
Yeah, is the JB Knowledge survey is live right now, right? They're collecting responses right now. So I think that'll be really interesting when that data comes back in.
Yeah, it'd be great to see the insights there.
So I'm going to take a moment to jump back in. Hi, everybody. This has been an awesome episode, and I want to thank all of you for joining. And we're not quite over yet because I got one final question for each of you, because you hit on a topic that I think, Lillian, that was a great question about what has COVID impacted, and, what have you seen go away was, one thing and be added, but what do you think is going to stay and what do you want back? I think when all of that is taken from us, because, the Construction Dorks at its core was based on all of us being together in the back of these events or the hallways or the bars or whatever it was to have a conversation. So I miss that, I know. So Neetha, I want to start with you. Like, what do you think is going to stay and what do you want back? And any final words for everyone listening, because you guys rock.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what's going to stay is this need for collaboration and like having a platform for collaboration. And because that's something where, like the different parties might not exactly trust each other, but now they're seeing that sharing information freely and like getting more transparency and all these things is actually beneficial. And because it allows them to work remotely and like not have to travel and not to expose themselves to COVID. And I think something that I would like to still see is maybe the human interaction a little bit more and not like maybe hiding behind emails.
I think we'd all like that. Kelly?
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, everybody would like that right now a little bit. Kelly?
I think definitely the big thing I'd like to see stay is the remote workforce. As construction is what I would call a traditional industry, we have a lot of clients that are very much about what we call in our office button seat, boots on ground, take your pick. But they want to see somebody in the office as a way of recognizing that their money is well spent. And I think that what COVID has shown is that you're still getting very good value and you're getting your deadlines met, you're getting your deliverables, no matter how we're delivering that product, whether we're all sitting at home getting it done or we're sitting in an office getting it done, we are getting it done. And our focus is on getting it done for the client. And I want to see that stay, because I think that's going to do nothing but open up the industry to really help people get the best talent for the best type of work and, the right people in the right positions, because people don't have to relocate across the country or move somewhere maybe they're not interested in living to be able to take on a position that they're really well suited for. The one thing I want to see come back, I think like you guys talked about, I'm sure Travis is all about this, is the conferences, because I love doing these things. I love, sitting on Zoom or Teams or whatever and talking with people. But like you said, I mean, the really cool stuff is born out of talking over drinks after spending a day listening to a bunch of people talk about some really cool stuff. So I want to see those come back.
I think I agree with all of that. And the butts and seats thing has been a frustration of mine from before this industry. And I think if we base it on what our butts get done, not where our butts are, is really, going to make a difference. It's that KPIs around getting work done. Christa?
So I'm going to go a slightly different direction, because one thing that I've been seeing for the last couple months that really excites me is a rapid snowballing adoption of AR in the field, especially for use in like virtual inspections and like for managing RFIs and stuff like that from the field. So I really hope that just continues to grow and grow. And the thing that I am looking forward to getting back, I mean, obviously I want to, be in the same room as you nerds again soon. but also I think just the ability, like right now, my team can't actually travel to job sites without having to, for tech deployments, they can't do that without having to quarantine for 2 weeks before, during, and after. So, I mean, our speeds will pick up a lot once we have a little bit more freedom to move around the country.
I like that. We are seeing new tools that are finding their way into new spaces. So cool to see that. Nichole?
Yeah, I definitely kind of new tools aspect. We're doing AI automation of all of our inspections and reporting, and I can't tell you how excited I am about the fact that I can set up an automation once and it sends it out to all my guys every single day, and it bugs them until I get it back. It makes my life a lot easier and all of my superintendents' lives a lot easier. And it was really slow to adopt beforehand. And I think, my FaceTime with my guys in the field is really valuable. And I've been kind of locked down from doing that. So I'm super excited to be able to really get back into the field and interact with some trade partners and some architects, because I feel like that's where our teams really need us the most, or at least from my perspective.
That's awesome. Not quantity of interaction, but quality, and with whom,
Very much. Yeah.
Moves those teams forward. We need it, that quality of what we get in the background of the conferences, but the quality on the job sites too. It's a relationship business, but let's limit that relationship and make it more powerful when we interact. So I love it. Tannis?
So what I think is going to stay is trust. And I mean that in two ways. Number one, trust in the team to work from home and work remotely and deal with all of the life things you have going on around you. We've proven very quickly that works. And I come from previous positions where I've been able to work remotely, thankfully. And I always thought the butts and seats concept was a little bit antiquated, right? Somebody does not have to be physically present in an office to create value. You can create value from your home, from a beach, transiting through airports, wherever you happen to be. Collaboration can happen anywhere with the right tools. And then that leads me to my next point, trust in the tools. And, we've, in the construction technology space, technology in general, there is sometimes a bit of a hesitation to leap into new things. And we're seeing new technology, we're seeing startup tech being deployed out of necessity. And we're really seeing a lot of iteration and excitement around that, and trust in the team that is working towards making those tools function and create value for the project. And so I think trust is what I think we're going to really benefit from this whole process. And I'm hoping, I'm an optimist that's going to be our life beyond COVID. What would I like back? Much like everybody else, human interaction. The video conferencing is fantastic, but you only get so far, right? And then morning meetings, a lot of people won't even turn their cameras on because they still have disheveled hair and they're in their pajamas, and you don't even get the video interaction. You're just talking to people on the phone. So we've been doing things like escape rooms, like team building escape rooms, just to get people connected outside of that workspace, get people's cameras on, have a few laughs. But yeah, it's going to be great to get back on the conference circuit with you guys and connect and share a whiskey or a beer and catch up. That's definitely what I miss the most.
Well, I think you just blew the industry apart with that trust thing, because it's been a barrier for just about everything. I mean, when you get down, you're like, trust and transparency are like the two things that come up, and you just hit them. And I would love to see that, because it really is the trust in the people and the trust in the tools. If you're not going to trust them, why did you hire them? And the tools themselves, trust but verify, but the verification's happening because it has to. To Christa, your point on site verifications and inspections, it proofs in the pudding. You can see it. So that's awesome. And I purposely did this because, Rebecca, you kind of stepped in as the leader of the show today, as the MC.
Didn't mean to.
No,
Sorry.
this is a natural progression. So I really want to say that it was awesome to watch. We don't get to do this from the sidelines. That's why I wanted to do that. So what was the last, for you, what's the biggest positive that you want to see, and what do you want back? And then I'll let you take this off and send this podcast to the end.
Gotta close out. So not too far off what Tannis was saying, I hope that the open-mindedness remains. I feel like there's a lot of open-mindedness to new technology right now because we're kind of forced to. And so that's one part of it. And then the open-mindedness to like continuing a remote workforce. I was actually hired as a full-time remote employee for Balfour Beatty, and there was a lot of hesitation about that, and there was a lot of concern about it. But going back to Kelly's point at the very beginning of this kind of little roundtable that we're doing right now, it's getting the right person in the right role and being open-minded to like allow that person to come in the right place instead of only allowing them to sit in an office. And so open-mindedness both with technology, you know, moving forward, how can we adopt new things, how can we adopt new practices, and then also, you know, how can we all work the best in the future together? Does it have to be in an office, or what are new ways that we can collaborate together to make the industry better? So open-mindedness as a whole. And then I think like most other people, I would like travel to come back with a heavy emphasis on conferences, because that's how I know all you dorks, and that's why I'm in this seat right here, is because of conferences. And so for that, I'm extremely grateful. But I have been at Balfour for 4 weeks, and I've never met anyone in person that I work with. And so that's like a whole other thing with like onboarding during this time is just different. And so I'm hoping to be able to travel soon and get to meet some of the people in person that I work with. And with that, that's the Dorkettes podcast.
Well, thank you, Rebecca, and thanks for sending it off. I mean, for me, what I think COVID's showing us all is the boundaries and the constructs of our culture and the way things work are disintegrating, and I think they're doing it in a positive. I think having all of you on today for your perspectives just shows that, you know, we can strip that all away and change this industry from the ground up. Each one of you is pioneering in your own place for that. And so we thank all of you for joining us, and you all have an open invitation to come back. You're all Dorkettes. And for that, we're very appreciative, because it is us who's winning by having you guys here. So, and to everybody who joined us for the day, we really appreciate you. This has been episode 9 of the Construction Dorks podcast, the Dorkettes. And I want to say it's been the best one yet. Thanks for joining us.
Bye. Thanks for having us.